Jedi leaving. Some of them wanted to wipe the Jedi out, as they were afraid of their power. But most senators just wanted the Jedi out of here for good. Of course, a lot of them also trusted the Jedi, but that wouldn't stop the Jedi from leaving, and so the transition would begin. Over the next few weeks, plans would be put together to restore temples on Tython, Ahch-To, and Dantooine, while also building dozens of outposts across the galaxy. The location of these outposts were determined by Jedi Masters, going from planet to planet, having discussions with the planet leaders. If they were open to a Jedi outpost to maintain security, then the Jedi would be there. Planets like Rhodia, Lothal, Toyera, Chandrilla would accept this, but some, like Ryloth,
Must be
choose
two
to have their own
more.
security instead of Jedi, which the Jedi were absolutely fine with. Within just a couple of months, Coruscant was devoid of the Jedi, and the temple would essentially be turned into a museum, school, hospital, job center, and aid center. This was finally testing the
It
Jedi.
wasn't supposed to go
Instead of
this
tearing
way.
the temple down, reallocate the funds that went to the Jedi.
What do we do now?
Projects.
What do we do?
The Jedi would build their temples with funding from planets like Alderaan, Chandrila, and other wealthy senators that supported the Jedi moving. During all of this, Dooku was allowed back into the Order
Oh,
after extensive
hey,
talks
Rook.
with Master Yoda, and
How's it
Dooku would be
going?
redeemed, as he was eventually able to turn back and defeat the Sith Lord. These initial months were also the first months of Anakin's training, which was pretty chaotic. Obi-Wan and Anakin would end up at the Tython
Not
Temple,
exactly.
the one which most of the Jedi
With
archives were
Solus,
also
it
moved to,
was always
along
about the
with
Fade,
Dooku,
or
who was
the
now
Veil,
helping Obi-Wan a
or
lot with the training
some other
when he found out
in-between
who Anakin
place.
was and what he meant
Varric
to
always
Qui-Gon.
hated it, though.
Anakin, like many
At least
others
this
in the
place
Jedi,
feels
did not
different.
understand why this was happening.
Maybe
Maybe he had heard of the
safer?
Sith passing, but they basically were sold on the idea of
So,
exploring
you have
into the
plants.
galaxy at such a young
Green is
age.
nice, isn't it?
Most Jedi,
Green?
no matter how old, would accept
Most
this
of
new
these
life
are
right away
dead.
after a few weeks.
Figures.
Everyone was on board.
Maybe
And
I'll
it
clear 'em
wouldn't
out.
take long for the Jedi
Give
to
me
see just how
something to
different
do.
their lives were going to
I
be
hate sitting
now that they were
around.
separate from the Republic.
Shouldn't be
When they
sitting
were called on by the
around.
people or
We're
guided by
going
the Force,
back through
the
the
Jedi would
Illuvian,
just find
right?
planet after planet
Let's
had
start with
issues,
that.
whether political,
Soon as we can.
environmental, or
You know,
anything
you can take
else.
some time to
Coruscant
just...
was so safe.
Now you sound like Varric.
Every day
Varric
was
and I
safe.
started this.
But now they were
And
allowed
I
to
can't
act on
stop.
whatever they thought was right.
Not now.
If there was a planetary blockade by the
Don't
Trade
ask me
Federation,
to.
they wouldn't
So,
have to rely on the Chancellor.
come get me when you're ready to go.
Secretly send two Jedi
Alright?
in to resolve the situation. They could just go in themselves to resolve it. As
Oh,
far as
I'm not gonna
they
fall.
elected Ainley Team of Malastare as their next Chancellor, and he had a long history of making money from corruption. He would basically put in place to keep the senators happy, and it worked. One of the major changes that would come to the Republic was the creation of an army that was comprised completely of Coruscant-willing citizens. The Clone Army on Kamino was shut down by Dooku, and wouldn't be a factor any longer.
That's the second.
The people
One
of
more to go.
Coruscant, and mainly the corporations, wanted this army. It supplied jobs, weapons, tanks, ships, and money. There wasn't any war, but peace was never a guarantee, so this army was put into place. Without the Jedi, they wanted this extra security. The Republic army was strong more so in numbers than in talent, and they would begin spreading out to other planets, dealing with pirates or criminal gangs. The main problem with this was that after the criminals were stopped, the soldiers did not leave the planets. They stayed to enforce security, despite planets not often wanting this. All of this was behind well in the separatist movement uprising. Despite Palpatine being dead and being a Jedi, the separatist movement was still being whispered about. With Terry Law being a key figure for it, it was an extremely painful movement, and it really didn't have any legs to stand on right now. But the Republic could really were a show of force to make planets reconsider leaving the Republic. 5 more years of Jedi separation in Republic overreach would go by, with people starting to really fight the Jedi, at least the people outside of the core planets, and the core planets were flooded with anti-Jedi propaganda. One event that showed people that the Jedi are the good guys was on Rhodia.
Wisps. Figures are in the Fade, but I swear they're following me.
You alright?
Strange.
Good.
We're both Shadow Dragons and both from Minrathous. Maybe our paths haven't crossed, but I know our work has.
I made a call that got you injured right afterward.
I'll be fine. If
take a dozen Jedi Knights and spend around 3 weeks here fighting off these pirates in some gruesome but necessary
Why wouldn't I?
battles.
Shadows stand together.
His life to ensure
That's the
Rhodia
idea.
obtained the necessary
cross your
supplies.
fingers it works
And
out
the
for
people
us.
were rallying around the Jedi
take a
after
lot of
this
notes.
sacrifice even more.
What about?
There would be more and more
Lately,
missions like this,
what we know,
especially
or
after the
knew,
Jedi were
before
completely
Solus
settled in,
changed
there
the
were rebuilt
game.
temples and outposts.
Not
Master
much.
Yoda and Windu led an aid mission to Harun Cal, where a massive
figure this
hurricane
out.
destroyed many villages, and the Jedi were
No.
there to rebuild and bring aid for around a year. Coleman Cash and Alpha-Rancides would spend a long time on Kashyyyk, helping them with Trandoshans, trying to hunt them for spores and tear down the ancient Trinians. And another mission, led by Plo Koon, Shanti, Ravenskull, and Pablo Gil, were taken to Hallmark, where the main planetary aqueducts were destroyed by local criminals, because the Prime Minister was refusing to pay them to stay away. They were blackmailed, and they destroyed the aqueducts, and were soon dealt with by the Jedi. The Jedi wanted to help bring them here, so they would say,
Okay, that did something.
can negotiate for some Durasteel to help rebuild these guns. Canary was a planet rich in this material, but when the Jedi arrived, they were met with planetary horrors they never expected to find. As far as the eye could see, there were mines deep in the planet, but far past the regular mining zones that ever would have been planted. Instead, into the main villages and cities that could be here on Canary, all there was now were gaping holes and mines. And as Dooku, Skywalker, and Kenobi landed their ship in the forests, they wondered if anyone was still alive around here. Luckily, they could see a fire in the distance, and so they pursued this until eventually the three Jedi came upon a new, makeshift sort of village. People here looked hungry, as if their homes were ripped away, and Dooku requested to speak with the leader as an ambassador of the Jedi Order. The leader here spoke basic, and Dooku asked what has happened to this planet. The leader was named Sucre, and Sucre detailed how over the last decade or so, the Republic mining operation completely
So,
ignored the
we
Canary
stopped the
mining
ritual.
and they ripped the planet
And
apart,
Varric paid the
killing
price.
hundreds of thousands of people, whether directly in
Varric
mining
made his
disasters
choice to go
or
talk with
indirectly
Solus.
by ruining
He knew the
ecosystems,
risks.
treating environmental disasters.
And now Solus is gone.
It's not like he trusted the
And we're
Republic to
here.
do what was right.
Wherever
But
here
this was
is.
horrific.
Besides in the
He asked
Fade.
how this could possibly have
Solus
been
called
kept
it
quiet,
the
and
lighthouse.
Sucre said it was
He
simple.
did.
The Durasteel
When?
and Duracrete, stored deep in this planet to be mined, are the minerals used to build the luxurious skyscrapers and temples on Coruscant, even the one the Jedi used to reside in. And now it all made sense. No one on Coruscant knew about this, spoke up because they were all
In my
benefiting
head,
from it.
Solus
And
showed up
Sucre
while I
said
was
now
out
that
cold
only a
to
few
gripe
thousand
about his
Canary
breaking his
people
ritual.
are still here.
He's
Most
mad
of them
about us
have moved across the
destroying
planet
his
to try to
ritual?
rebuild their homes.
Sounded like it.
But they are starting to
When the
fight
ritual
back.
went wrong, he ended up trapped in
People
some kind
behind
of prison.
Sucre cheered in
You're
excitement.
sure that
And the
wasn't
Jedi
just a
looked at
dream?
each other with
It's a
concern.
reasonable reaction.
And without warning,
Solus
a giant
can speak
explosion
with people in their
suddenly showed
dreams.
the trees and the ground
Even
all
kill
around
them.
them. Dooku
I'm
asked
not
what
in
was going
danger.
on, and
He can only
Sucre said
barely
that was
reach
the
me.
sound
I
of
bled a little
rebellion.
when I got knocked out.
The three Jedi
So
ran
Solus
past
is
the
using
trees,
blood
looking
magic,
down the cliffs and
like
toward the main
any
Canary
normal
mining
mage would to
base,
play with your
at least
mind.
where it used to
But
just
he's not a
stand.
normal
A
mage,
group of
like I
Canarians
told you.
snuck into the
He's an
Rangdonian
elven
refinery
god.
inside.
Putting
They
together a
activated
nice
it,
ritual
and
doesn't
Rangdonium,
make him a god.
creating extremely explosive material, cut the entire facility
Nev,
explode.
I'm a
Jonas went
mage.
back now, and he
You're
asked
a
the people
mage.
if they have ships
Solus
to get out of here.
is more than
And
that.
Sucre said they will
That
stand
ritual was
and
more
fight.
than some circle mage could have
Everyone
pulled
in
off.
Anakin were flustered,
Even more than
and
a
within
Tevinter
minutes,
Magister.
a Republic venator came on
Alright,
hyperspace,
well, we've
opening
stopped the
fire at
ritual,
forests
and there doesn't
without
seem to be an
hesitation.
immediate danger.
They were here
For
to
now.
finish the job.
You're
of
certain
wiping out
Solus
the
can't use blood
Canarians.
magic to affect your
Sucre
mind.
told the Jedi they have a
Certain
cave to
about
hide
that.
in, and they all began running.
But we're not
The
out
Republic
of danger.
Coruscant citizen military
mean?
would begin deploying troop
Solus had
carriers
two of
into
the
the
other
forest.
elven gods imprisoned.
He chose to leave the Jedi Order
got
to marry
trapped.
her, fulfilling his lifelong dream of
So
peace
those
and
things we saw
partnership
come
with
out of
her.
the Fade when the
His
ritual
departure from
went
the Order
wild.
was a symbol of the
Those,
changing times. Jedi
Elven
were no
Ark
longer
and
bound to the
Gelane,
rigid structures of the
two of the
past,
ancient
and
elven
love and
gods that
family were
Solus rebelled against.
celebrated rather than forbidden. Obi-Wan just chose to not remain a Jedi any longer. The Order itself evolved to reflect this new era. Masters like Plo Koon and Kit Fisto became ambassadors of peace, and they were household names, without the burden of constant warfare, focused on education, meditation, healing, growing communities, and developing with compassion at their core.
They're free because of us.
They're free because of Solus.
Lace is right. If we hadn't stopped that ritual, countless people would be dead.
I know. But still,
I lost friends.
they're out there now.
I lost family.
Then we find
I
them
lost part
and
of
we stop
myself.
them.
Solus says
This is the
Elden
fight of my
and
life.
Gelane drew on the blight
This is
power
gonna work,
became
Peter.
corrupted.
I know it
That's
is.
when he imprisoned them.
Because I don't
So
know what I'm
instead
going
of
to do if it
one,
doesn't.
God running around, we have two, and they're
I
not just
control the
powerful,
fate
they're
of the
blighted.
fate.
We need to get out there and
There's
stop
nothing
them.
you can do.
Just like that. We're down a man without Varric. We
You have
can't
many
just
memories
rush
with
in.
my father.
I know you're hurt now.
Father made you a
The
hero.
rest of us need to do something.
Now you have to do the same thing
I'll
for
be
me.
ready to fight when it's time, but we need to
Peter and Morgan,
investigate and figure out what
always
we're doing.
learn from your mistakes.
And how many more people will get hurt,
You
get
underestimate.
killed,
Get to
while
know
we
yourself.
spend time
Right.
investigating?
With great power comes great responsibility. When Aunt May said that, I didn't understand what she meant at first. But now I can understand.
If
I'm the
Elganon
Spider-Man of
are
this
worse than
city.
Solus, we don't have time to waste.
And I
We
will
need to
defeat
act
the
now.
Kingpin.
We don't know what they can do or what they want. We don't even know if Solus is telling the truth.
I'm not saying we go in blind. This time, if we see a shot, we take
I
it.
speak of my
All
city.
right. The last place we saw them was the ritual site.
The Illuvian took us
What is
here
this
from the
all
ritual
these
site, instead of back to Minrathous.
Then let's hope it takes us back.
Nev, are you okay to go?
So you find
It's a
yourself
headache.
trying to
I've
remember the
worked it
things
worse.
that made you happy.
All right then. Let's get back to the ritual site.
The Illuvian
Slowly,
has its own special
your
room.
brain begins
It's
to
just
erase
downstairs.
every memory that ever brought you joy.
When will people wake up and realize that chaos and everything by touches comes to ruin?
Responsibility. Sometimes I feel like I've already seen everything that's gonna happen. It's a nightmare.
For all
That's
we
how
know,
it
there's
starts.
a dozen demons waiting on the other side of that Illuvian.
If it even takes us back to Arlequin.
Nev, you sure you're up to this?
Don't worry about me. Shall we?
What's going on?
Let's do this.
Oh, let's go.
But all I say question. Someone
It's quiet. Well, isn't that a surprise?
There's the ritual site. But if the gods really did get out, they're not here anymore.
Right, let's take a look around and see if we can find...
Cut it down!
I'm trying! It's not working! I can't contain it!
Doors and searching for an individual other than the surface never beat Qui-Gon, so that stressed him out about all the little things. His fear of being inadequate and took her off of Tatooine. He asked for her to create a hologram for Anakin,
Strife?
and he would take it to her
Irulan.
son.
It's me.
So they sent the
Blaze
same
Harding.
bombing droids to the Senate
Harding?
building.
What are you doing back in Arlethan?
It's complicated.
I can see that.
Rook, Nev, this is Strife and Irulan. Varric and I met them when we first started hunting down Solus. They're veil jumpers, experts in ancient elven magic.
Hardly experts. I should have been able to shut that artifact down. I'm sorry, Tarith.
It's not your fault. Since the sky ripped open, the magic's been surging. Bunch of artifacts that had been dormant for centuries started coming alive. This is because of Finn Harel's... sorry, Solus's ritual, isn't it? You all were supposed to stop him.
We did stop him. The sky's not pulling itself apart,
Hello.
is it?
But
But it didn't go as cleanly as we hoped. Solus got pulled into the Fade, and two somethings got pulled out.
Welcome
Or
back to
someone's,
the
I
Space
mean.
Girl, like otherwise known as PBSW, your favorite hangout place, and today we're back with another Star Wars story. Today we're going to see what would have happened had the Master of the Order, Mace Windu himself, trained Obi-Wan Kenobi. Would Windu and Kenobi, as Master and Apprentice, significantly change anything, or would the galaxy continue down the same dark path? Before we begin this video, let's smash that like button, try and shoot 2,000 likes in the first 24 hours, and not least, what if Luke turned Vader to the light side before facing Sidious? This is a video you definitely don't want to miss. Also, what if Mace Windu was able to stop Anakin Skywalker from killing the Tusken Raiders? This was a pivotal moment that helped Anakin Skywalker turn to the dark side in the end. So, what if he never did, and Windu was able to catch him? That's what we're going to get into. Stay tuned to the end, as we're going to have a special announcement for those that want to be members on this channel. Anyways, let's get right into it. Our story begins inside of the Jedi Temple, as Yoda is meditating in his quarters. In the original timeline, Yoda had a vision or feeling that Anakin was in pain after he killed the Tuskens. But in this timeline, Yoda was having a vision before Anakin got to the camp. In this vision, Yoda saw Anakin holding someone, then he felt unimaginable rage, and he heard sounds and screams of slaughter. Yoda slowly opened his eyes, and he beckoned for Mace Windu to join him here, so they could discuss what this was.
Or is there something strange about this fog?
It all feels a little off. Like everything. Is that suit of armor moving?
And they asked Obi-Wan if he mentioned having trouble with anything. Obi-Wan stopped to think, and then he realized something. He told the Masters that Anakin was having dreams about his mother dying.
Who are you?
Yoda and Windu looked at each other, thanks Kenobi, and now knew that this is where Anakin would be, Tatooine. Windu said he would go and try to stop Anakin, try to stop him from whatever he was going to do, as it may be too late, but someone needed to be there for him. Yoda nodded disappointedly, and Windu took off. On Tatooine, Anakin and Padme landed and began looking for Shmi. They started with Watto, then out into the Dune Sea, and eventually they would come upon the Lars homestead, and so Anakin stood up, ready to cut down every single man, Shmi's body, then Anakin's body, and put them on his speeder, before heading back to the Lars. After a few hours, Anakin would begin to wake up to see Mace Windu placing a bowl of soup or something near him. Anakin's anger had mostly subsided, and now he was just left with great sadness for his mother, and shame for how he acted upon her death. That was not the Jedi way. He wondered if he was going to be expelled from the Order, but Mace sat down next to him, and he said that Anakin was right. Not completely in the way he acted, but his words were enough to get Mace to think about everything. And Mace gave a lesson to Anakin now, about a time when the Jedi did occupy the Outer Rim, using something called a Starlight Beacon that opened up communication, travel, and support from Jedi to the Outer Rim citizens. Unfortunately, it was destroyed, and the Jedi lost their way with the Outer Rim almost completely, only getting further and further from it. But Mace said that perhaps it's time they restore their presence here. Anakin was shocked, but he said this was a great idea. The two of them would talk for a bit longer, but eventually Mace would have to head back to Coruscant. He didn't tell Padme or the Lars about what Anakin tried to do, and once Mace left, Padme comforted Anakin over his mother's death. And as Mace left, he contemplated everything. Anakin had given in to darkness, but he didn't kill any of the Tuskens. He just lost his mother. But Mace was able to talk him out of his rage. After knocking him out, of course. He wanted to give Anakin another chance. Right now, he did trust the boy. He saw that he could bring good and peace to the galaxy. And he knew that the young Jedi could serve in an excellent role as a lead aide in the Outer Rim if the Jedi choose to go down that path. From here, events would play out as we all know. Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan would be captured and brought to Geonosis to be executed. But before Windu and the Jedi rescue team could take off, Windu and Yoda spoke about what happened on Tatooine, and the two of them agreed that the Outer Rim must become a top priority for the Jedi once more. But the Battle of Geonosis would take immediate priority, as Windu and 250 Jedi would travel and try to rescue Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan, only to be met by an onslaught of thousands of battle droids. The Jedi would fight valiantly, and when all hope seemed lost, the clone army would arrive. The battle would play out
with the Republic forces taking on the Separatists head-on. And eventually Dooku would fight Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda before the Battle of Geonosis concluded, and the Jedi returned to Coruscant. That evening, Chancellor Palpatine would declare that a war was now beginning between the Republic and the Separatists, and the Jedi would be asked to be the generals of the Grand Army of the Republic. Palpatine's entire plan was riding heavily on the Jedi fighting in the war, as this would basically be the Jedi abandoning hundreds or thousands of Separatist planets that were technically in the Republic, to fight against them. But in a council meeting, the first meeting that the newly promoted Obi-Wan Kenobi was a part of, Mace Windu said that perhaps it is wrong for the Jedi to join the war on the side of the Republic. This was actually very hard for Windu, as he loved the Republic, but he knew his responsibility as a Jedi was to the people, not to a political system. And Windu went on to describe Tatooine, how it was a planet in desperate need of aid from the Jedi, a planet riddled with crime, slavery, and disagreements leading to innocent death, including Anakin's mother. And so Windu asked the Jedi what they thought. Abo Rancy said he agrees it is time to return to the Outer Rim, as the Jedi are peacekeepers, not soldiers. Plo Koon spoke up, saying that the Starlight Beacon should be put back into construction, along with many other beacons across the galaxy. War is inevitable, and Plo said that they do not have to fight, but instead they should be a neutral party, offering medical aid and refugee support to anyone who needs it, Republic or Separatist. They could also help negotiate peace agreements during the war. The Jedi looked around. Discussions would continue, but in the end it was decided. The Jedi Order would not fight in the Clone Wars. Instead, they would aid citizens in need. And when Yoda and Windu delivered this message to Palpatine, he was obviously extremely angry, and he urged the Jedi to rethink this, but Yoda said they could not. It was not their place to choose which planets to support when they are supposed to keep their peace among all citizens in the galaxy, and as Grandmaster, this is where he has failed the most. So Yoda informed Palpatine that the Jedi are no longer a part of the Republic, but instead are a neutral party in the galaxy during wartime, and they left the office. Palpatine was very discouraged, but he knew the war must go on. Perhaps in time, the Jedi will reconsider once they see that the Outer Rim is too far gone for Jedi support.
Just veil jumpers mostly.
Yeah, commanders in charge of the armies, rather than Jedi commanders.
I've never seen
While they both
anything
fought
like
the droids
this.
in battle after
Wait,
battle, the Jedi
is
would begin
this-
spreading their influence
No,
into the Outer Rim,
can't be.
serving
Not
as a
here.
neutral party for the
Can't be
core
what?
mid-rim worlds
We
of the
have to
Clone
get over there.
Wars.
The
In the Outer
artifact
Rim,
we're looking
half
for
of the
must
Order
be
would focus
inside.
on bringing aid to those in
What
need.
was this place?
This half of the
Could have
Jedi
been a
would be led
temple,
by
could
Jedi
have been
Masters
where they stored
Shakti
food.
and Plo Koon.
Judging
And
by
this
the
is also where
temples,
the Skywalker would be
probably
stationed.
something important.
For a few months, the Jedi would travel to various worlds with medical supplies.
Are we
Their
just supposed to
packages,
jump
they would
across?
build stations.
Oh, no, we can make a bridge.
Of a
There
dispute.
should be a power
The
crystal
Jedi would try
somewhere
to
nearby.
negotiate peace between the fighting parties. Things would go actually quite
Got it.
well for a bit.
Bring it over here
But
and
after
slot
a
it
bit,
in.
the Jedi decided that it was time to abolish
And there we
slavery
go.
from the
Easy.
Outer Rim.
Huh.
And this
That's
is
a
where
great
Darth
trick.
Sidious came in.
A
They
resonance
decided to bunch of
amplifier.
bounty hunters to
Strong
rally
magic
the
from the
Clone
ring
Wars
temple to
together
this area.
to try to push the Jedi
I
out
need
of
to
the
shut
Outer
it
Rim
down
with
before we
force.
can go up the
And this
path.
would actually spark
But
a new
doing
war
that will attract
before the
anything
Jedi would
nasty
actually
that's hanging
participate
around.
in. So while
You're
the Clone
ready.
Wars were going on, the Jedi such as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, and so many others traveling to four worlds to provide aid during this war.
See that, bad guys?
Outer Rim starts with Jedi versus planets over. Then opens the second home. Planets like they rally together. So the Jedi up loss. To attack the Jedi refuge against all enemy soldiers. The Jedi would force to fight them. This would go on for a few months. And as far as the Jedi, this would be the purpose of its fights. This leads this Jedi so that strength. It's like I see thousands of others all my Jedi was a civil war. Friends in Korea as in missions in the Civil War here. Unfortunately, supplies attack is appeared into the army, and the Red Army attacked the Jedi settlements. Fighting Jedi cavalry the citizens would rally behind the Jedi.
So that
Word of the
ritual,
slave rebellion
the big one
would
where
spread
the
throughout
sky was
Fort
ripping
Heaven.
apart.
This would inspire
You say
civilians
that
of
was
many planets to
Fenrir?
rise up
I
and
mean,
take
the
down the
real
crime syndicats
Fenrir?
fighting against the Jedi.
That's what I've been
And
told.
because of these
But right
uprisings
now,
from
he
the
goes by
citizens
Solus.
of the Jedi,
And,
the Jedi versus
sorry,
Syndicate war would
the
come to a
things that
swift
got out,
end.
the big
Victory
scary
for the
ones.
Jedi and the
That was
people.
Gilnane and
As for the
Oberyn?
other war, the Clone
Are you
Wars,
okay?
things were at a
You
stalemate.
sound a little
Separatists and Republic were
flustered.
trading victories.
Oh, you
as
know,
the
just
Palpatines were pulling it
finding
all,
out that 3 of
waiting
my
for the
gods are
Jedi
out
to enter
there
the
trying to
war.
end the
But
world.
this would never happen.
I wonder how they died.
Frustrated.
Even
Behind his
mages
back,
have trouble
there
with the
were many
artifacts
senators
here.
putting together a
We
motion
expect them
end
to
this
work
war.
like, you know,
Many planets had
normal magic.
negotiated peace treaties
But they're
thanks to
different.
the Jedi. They
The
were sweeping
magic's
shut down by the
more
Republic.
alive
This was
somehow.
strange. And so the
They
soldiers
never sent the construct. We'll have to take it down. Okay, easy enough. But watch out. Whenever you see one, there's more nearby.
A negotiator, and he said that many
Seeing
peace
these
treaties have been
kinds of
sent to the
ruins
Chancellor's
never gets
office.
old.
But they never
Can
received a
anything
response
here
back.
tell us what
So
that
they can only
artifact
assume
is?
the Senate was
I
denying
have a
them.
theory,
Padme
but
said
we're
the
miles
Senate
away
never
from
knew
where
these
that
treaties.
artifact should be.
It only mean one thing. Chancellor Palpatine was vetoing these treaties himself, like a dictator or emperor of sorts. And so Padme would speak to many senators, informing them of this, and she would do this for about a month, rallying many people to her cause. And in a Senate meeting, Padme would decide it is time. She would bring her pawn to the center, interrupting the speech with a light. And Padme had all the time to build confidence.
Construct! It means I was right.
Right about what?
That's where we are. It's an armory. And I think I know what the artifact
Step
is.
down from his position. He would accept this. Third, he claimed that his emergency
Whatever you say.
slow down this until the conflict ends. Now it's a big difference for the Senate is correct. Once that happened, another senator would go back to the Jedi and ask them to Palpatine would tell them to get in the way of peace. So Padme urged the Jedi to slay all the keepers of the peace to get this stuff down. The council was up for this. Most of this
Good to go.
and so one day, when Palpatine was sitting at his desk, this open Stats Valley, putting him in the chancellor's office, he stepped down and be arrested. Palpatine finally decided to he was clearly a Jedi. He was breaking up the
Great hit, Valara.
rightfully execute Order 66 to build his empire. To be honest, Palpatine was spiraling a bit. For the first time,
So what kind of artifact shows up in an armory? A weapon?
An archive spirit.
A what?
A creature of the faith bound to a crystal. Ancient elves use them to store knowledge and to help them dream.
The blasted Mephisto opened the window of lightning into a Jedi Avatar, the revelation that he would be sent over. Yoda and the original spoke for him. After a minute of fighting through the halls, Yoda was able to flip through the air, stab Palpatine through the heart, and bring a swift end to this battle. Senate would learn the truth why Palpatine continued the war for so long, and peace negotiations would resume. Dooku would try to stop the negotiations with
Take it to him.
There's this whichever over, and the Republic would never imagined possible. This was a peace act. Led the war for the that they did it. In the hiding, this road was careless. Watch the galaxy. The solar. Ruthless would be destroyed. Separatist would be fearless. Anytime, the war would be a sweet end. The Republic will elect Senator Padme Amidala as Chancellor, and she would help the Jedi restore peace in the Outer Rim as well.
Another one of those resonance amplifiers.
Restored.
Get ready.
Jedi
Once I
Master
shut it down, the
Skywalker
path ahead will
your
remain
events.
blocked until the magic
Your
dissipates.
event would see faster
We've got
and
your back.
and Chancellor Padme unite for the first time since
Sure thing.
the wars. And they would show the Outer Rim citizens that they were not alone. Starlight would work in the hospital, an observatory, research station, a market, and a cultural center for the galaxy, inviting visitors from all around to the place of vendors, cultures, and countless exhibits would be constantly updated to ensure representation of many peoples. And inspect the Osmo archive, the station would host the largest number of Jedi and scientists. Peace was restored across the galaxy. Padme and Anakin used their relationship to at least now, as Anakin was having control of the building, Jedi over it helps that with the story.
I've never seen Darkspawn this deep into Arlequin Forest before. As far as I know, it's never happened.
If the gods are blighted, like Solus claims, maybe they're communicating with the Darkspawn somehow. Directing them?
You saw those Darkspawn, though? Something was different about them.
And we'll stop them. Once we get out of this bubble.
Right. Let's get to that central temple.
What if Mace Windu trusted Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith? That's what we're going to go over today. I really enjoyed writing this story, and I did take a lot of inspiration from the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Excellent story, so hope you enjoy. Let's get right into it. Mace Windu stood on the Coruscant shipyards looking to the sky as half of a ship emerged into the atmosphere and was descending down into Coruscant. At this point, Windu could only wonder what was going on inside of it, but somehow he already knew. Skywalker, the Chosen One, was flying half of the ship, most likely with Palpatine and Kenobi on board. And as Windu watched it descend, hoping the Force would guide them, he remembered all of the events that led up to the attack on Coruscant, and why Skywalker has suddenly become the most important person to the Republic. Before the attack, Skywalker and Kenobi found a Mechno chair that belonged to Newt Gunray, and they were able to trace messages sent to the device from somewhere on Coruscant, somewhere in the industrial sector. And they traced that lead to an old building in that area of Coruscant, where Mace and a group of Jedi and clones invaded a building to find it was a recently abandoned lair, the likely lair of the Sith. This was the closest they had been to uncovering the Sith, and their investigations continued with clone intelligence finding footprints that led from the building all the way into the underground tunnels. And those tunnels led directly to a place that could only mean terrible things. They led to the underground tunnel for 500 Republica, the most exclusive address on Coruscant, home to the most powerful senators, along with the Supreme Chancellor. And this only confirmed the suspicions brought on by Obi-Wan at the start of the war. Darth Sidious, whoever he may be, has invaded the highest levels of the Republic, and he was likely part of the Palpatine's inner circle. And Mace wasn't convinced that the Chancellor even believed the Sith were real. And now, as Mace watched Skywalker miraculously land the half-ship, he knew he had to place the highest level of trust in the boy. No one in the Order, heck, the entire...
Hello, our story begins on Route from Mandalore to Coruscant. The Mandalorians have been defeated in combat, and Darth Maul had been captured by Ahsoka Tano. The battle happened early, and Ahsoka was able to catch Maul off guard in the lower levels of the planet. During the small leave of absence, he would introduce Rex and Ahsoka to the twins, and during the same week, both Rex and Ahsoka would be assigned New Beginnings. Ahsoka reluctantly rejoined the Jedi Order after a conversation with Plo Koon, probably the only individual in the Order aside from Anakin who could have gotten her to rejoin the Order. Rex, on the other hand, was partaking in a New Republic initiative. Considering Republic fleets and army were already limiting the Mid and Outer Rim territories, they might as well do something. So war was started against the crime syndicates, who had seemingly united under the name Crimson Dawn. They weren't technically a part of it, but they were all united. They formed within the span of time to doing what they were best at doing, killing insurgents. That's what they did. Pirates now were not prepared, and Anakin fully supported this, but the Jedi avoided joining up in another war. Instead, they began to partake in something else, which was the expansion of their order. With the pirates growing rapidly, or seemingly having grown rapidly, the Jedi wanted to start a new base of operations, or a Jedi outpost. Something would allow the Jedi to be closer to the action. Again, with Anakin not present during these debates, the Council suggested Naboo. There was plenty of open space on the planet, and two of the most recent Sith in history were born or spotted there, that being Maul spotted or Palpatine born there. So with the extra incentive to avoid any other potential dangers, the Order split off and went out there. Anakin saw this as a great way to keep both facets of his life secret. Even better, Ahsoka was relocating to that area as well, and so was Master Shaak Ti. Obi-Wan would stay inside the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. With two council members out on Naboo, it was pretty much protected space for the Jedi. Yoda, on the other hand, decided that perhaps he should look into his visions and go to the industrial sector. What he found made him dumbfounded, and even more dumbfounding was the fact that he had visions of the industrial sector layer and never checked it out. This single experience convinced Yoda to step down from the High Council. He was appalled with himself. If he acted on his knowledge of the future, he could have potentially saved the Jedi earlier and done it with a lot less dramatics. But instead, he played the long game and convinced himself the future was in motion. And while yes, the future is always in motion, he could have... Hello, our story begins inside the invisible hand. Ahsoka was traveling with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Initially, she was outraged at the idea that Kenobi would make a move for Coruscant, despite the importance of saving Mandalore. But information was revealed by Obi-Wan about the entire situation on Mandalore. She didn't know it, because Bo never explicitly said anything about it. But the entire war on Mandalore was started from within. Sure, it was Walden got them to take control over Sundari, but without the backing of Death Watch, that dream would have never come to fruition. Ahsoka knew she could go there and fight Maul, potentially even kill him. But the truth is, if the Mandalorians were willing to throw away their case for war, then perhaps it wasn't something that she could fix as a non-Mandalorian. Ahsoka was split on the decision, but decided last second to join Obi-Wan and Anakin as they returned to Coruscant. She wanted the war to end anyways, so why not be there to help it come to its conclusion? It was a strenuous situation to be in, and she wasn't really sure if she was ready to return to combat in such a large scale. Turns out she was. Through her master's training and the Jedi's acceptance of the war, she was more a warrior than a Jedi had any right to be. The 501st was split up, while Commander Appa was leading the siege of Mandalore alongside Bo-Katan. The mission was approved by the Council, but Ahsoka simply wasn't going. As the three Jedi moved throughout the invisible hand, they came across the Chancellor inside the tower of the vessel. They quickly moved him to his side and prepared to free him from his captivity. That is until Dooku showed himself. He referred to them as Jedi, and they turned around preparing to face him. Ahsoka never faced off against Dooku before, so she was in uncharted territory. She was still a little rusty with a lightsaber than it was, and taking on someone like Dooku would be challenging. But Obi-Wan and Anakin were there. There was a little back and forth before the engagement began. The Jedi moved in unison, but they were a little off time due to having been separated for several months. Dooku very quickly used his lightsaber to defend himself, swinging it back and around to make sure the Jedi couldn't beat him. He knew his main objective was pushing Skywalker further into the dark side, so he threw Obi-Wan back and then sidestepped Ahsoka, shooting electricity into her back. She was thrown to the ground and seemed to be knocked out on the hands of a couple Jedi and surrendered everyone else. The council was backed by the temple guards, and the battle master Sindralik himself. With the full backing of the High Council and the most elite on Coruscant, Anakin's little rebellion would crumble right out from under him. He would be defeated in a contest with Mace Windu, and Ahsoka would lose her fight against Obi-Wan. They weren't trying to kill each other, it was just a matter of hostilities reaching a breaking point. Anakin was in the wrong, and he was too blind to see it. He was hopeful to bring peace, but it was already on the way, before he did this little rebellion. The population of the Republic saw this move as proof that the Jedi were power-hungry. The people were revolted, but they were suppressed by the Coruscant Guard. Ahsoka, in particular, had no interest in rejoining their Jedi Order, but they requested that anyone who was a part of their movement that wanted to rejoin could be allowed to. He saw that his actions were wrong, and he didn't want anything negative to exist between their two orders. But the Jedi had already forgiven him. They knew how it looked, but that was the price of their action. They were doing it to save the people. It was like their attachment rule. It wasn't that attachment was bad, it was that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. The Jedi couldn't be afraid to make the hard choices, and that's what they did. They knew not everyone would agree with it, but they had to do it to end the war. Instead of both Jedi Orders being separate, the Council suggested that Anakin's be considered a splinter group of the Jedi Order, associated but not directly the same. He agreed to that notion, and so Anakin would be able to have the best of both worlds. Hello. Our story begins inside the Republic military base on Coruscant. The investigation regarding the bomber responsible for the destruction of the Jedi Temple had been complete. Letta was taking the blame for a crime she technically did not commit. She had requested that Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano come to her prison cell to talk to her. Ahsoka obliged, and so when she arrived in the building, she was escorted into the enclosure. The clones told her that she had to surrender her Jedi weapons before she could enter, so that's what she did. Fox and two clones escorted her to the room, as they told her they would be in the command room until she was finished with whatever needed to be discussed. Ahsoka walked down, and within moments of Letta telling her that there was a Jedi behind the bombing, she was left on the ground. Ahsoka panicked. She didn't realize what was happening, but she looked up into the ceiling and thought she could see a shadow. She turned around with all of her strength and blasted down the door. There were no clones outside the cell to be injured by the blast. Ahsoka ran out of the cell. At the same time, the clones noticed that Letta was in the air, and Ahsoka wasn't in the room, which made everything even more confusing. Ahsoka called out down the hallway, and a couple clones came running. She told them to lock down the facility as she made her way to the command center. She got the Fox, who was already informed of the communication, of her directive. Fox quickly turned on the lockdown codes, which sounded alarms and closed down blast doors. When Ahsoka came around, she told him to flood the vents with heavy coolant. He was very confused, but she expressed that she believed she could see a shadow above the cell. If he could do it, perhaps he could find whoever it was responsible for the act. Fox was immediately confused, but he told her to stay where she was. This single act by Fox was the key to the culprit escaping. A masked individual who was able to stay inside the ventilation system and handle the coolant. Fox pulled up the tape and started to replay it. When Letta was lifted off the ground, Ahsoka showed no interest in trying to pull her down. She knew here on Coruscant, Dooku dead, the only weird occurrence in the galaxy was the ever so rare showing of Darth Maul, which eventually did. Hello, special thanks to Owen Zimmer for sponsoring our 90,000 subscriber lightsaber. He wasn't speaking. He actually didn't want to, because seated at the table was Yoda, who was very badly damaged, and Mace Windu. Yoda was at the temple during Order 66. Windu was on the front lines. Yoda was nearly blown up by a rocket. Windu, for the most part, he was doing alright. But they learned of Kenobi becoming the Duke here, something that managed to evade Sidious. Though he didn't really care for Mandalorian weddings, so perhaps his lack of interest in that permitted him to miss out on it. Anakin asked the Jedi what they were doing here, and they said they came looking for assistance, but it seemed Obi-Wan wouldn't be able to offer up such assistance due to his condition. But perhaps Anakin would. While Anakin didn't harbor resentment for the Jedi, he was upset at them. First, he's not good enough, then they want to barge into his aunt's home, or at least he like calling Satine auntie, and then tell him that Kenobi wasn't good enough. It made his skin crawl, but he knew it wasn't worth arguing with. He needed to help them, so that they could destroy Sidious. That's what mattered at the moment. Not the grudges of the past, the future had to be secured. Anakin sat down at the table next to Satine, and Zena took a seat next to him. Hello. Welcome back. In today's vlog, we will be doing what if Obi-Wan left the order for Satine. Before we begin, special thanks to all of our patrons. Get ready for episode 3 of the miniseries, which comes out this Saturday. Our story begins in the year 1481 with one in Mandalore. Jedi Knights were firmly protecting the young Duchess from bounty hunters and mercenaries. After Qui-Gon Jinn separated himself from the students of the Duchess, as he made an effort to try and find the bounty hunters and end this incursion. Though it wasn't going to go as well as he had hoped. See, Mandalore was under a civil war, and it started nearly 2 years beforehand. The Civil War ravaged most of Mandalore. There was a war between the old Mandalorians and the new Mandalorians. Though the war started when the old clans picked a fight with the peace craving people of the new Mandalore. The tragedy of this Mandalorian Civil War is that the majority of Mandalore's population saw eye to eye with the Mandalorian way, believing that if the warrior ways were to continue, the Mandalore would cease to exist. The planet itself was struggling. Barren landscapes across the surface of the planet, and destroyed and rusted cities covered the entire landscape. The capital city of Kavabe was ravished, and even on that same capital city, Satine saw her own father die protecting her people from the old Mandalorians. The travesty of such occurrences saw Satine continue to try and prop up a peaceful governance as her sister joined the same insurgents that got her very own father killed. Mandalore was in ruins. The makeshift capital of the planet at Sundari is where the majority of the people of the new Mandalorians were located, but it didn't make them safe. The old Mandalore waged a war on a society that chose a greater stance on the galactic stage. A younger Satine than she already was, rose within the ranks of the political atmosphere inside of Sundari, and after her father's death in the former capital of the planet, she rose to become the successor in her family as a Duchess of Kalvala, though this task wasn't as easy as it seemed. When she rose to Duchess, she was only 14, and she had to piece together.
What if Grandmaster Yoda trained Anakin Skywalker instead of Obi-Wan Kenobi? What I want to go over today. I had a good idea for it, so I thought, hey, let's do this. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right into it. Our story begins with Grandmaster Yoda pacing in front of the young Jedi Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi. They recently returned from the funeral of
Thousands of years later.
Let me take a break.
No, you don't. Well then, right.
Guess it's broken like the rest of the artifacts.
It isn't just any artifact. That's the Nodus Derthalin, an archive spirit. And it does work. Or will, at least. Its crystal is broken. I guess maybe the blight threw its resonance off somehow. But I should be able to fix it. It's kinda my thing, fixing magical stuff. Strife and Irulan will want to know about this. And the Blight, and the Darkspawn. Let me know when you're ready to head to the Veil-Jumper camp. Ready to go?
Right. Let's get moving.
Come on. I'll show you the way to the Veil-Jumper camp.
We're running. There are...
We ran it.
Archive's broken. Won't tell us anything. But that doesn't matter. Any Dalish settlements we can save, we should.
So far, we've been lucky and arrived just in time. But given how fast these Darkspawn are moving, it's only...
Well, it hasn't...
If...
We...
4.
Nev.
Demetos, watch your back. And...
Could we really be at war with
Okay,
our own
we'll need a boat to get...